I feel like a newbie. I'm over here trying to change my profile pic. I don't even know how to do that.
It's all good. So I started recording. So hey everyone, welcome to this our second Podcord on the GaLAxy Family Discord, also known as GFam. Tonight is kind of special. The first Podcord we had, it was kind of like a hype Podcord just to get everyone hyped about the season. And now that the season has started and the GaLAxy have 7 games under the belt out of 34 of this throughout the season. That's roughly they played roughly 20% of the season. So we thought it'd be a good idea to bring famous GaLAxy podcasts and news IGs on and just to chop it up and discuss some GaLAxy topics. And what I would like to introduce right now is just our members that have graciously taken the time out of their day to participate. And we'll start with G from G30. Right now, Mike is having some technical difficulties, but Nelson is here. Nelson, would you like to do a little intro of what G30 is in case some people don't know?
Yeah, thanks for having us again, G, and love to be here with the other content creators. Over at G30, it's quick and dirty 30, as we say. Game preview, happenings of the week. And we kind of have some hot take sections. The growingly infamous Mike's Corner, where Mike likes to share his hot takes, and we kind of all shoot the shit with each other. Man, it's like friends talking the GaLAxy.
Okay, nice. And next we have Micah. He runs the Everything LA GaLAxy Instagram. I believe it has over 3,300 followers. Would you like to, give us a little intro about yourself, Micah?
Yeah, thanks G for having me. I'm Micah. I run everything LA GaLAxy. Just kind of having all the content from Twitter, Instagram, trying to do some YouTube content. But pretty much, yeah, I try to do everything. But thanks for having me.
No problem. And next, I would like to introduce Gio Garcia from LA Soccer Hub. He's very unique because he actually covers both teams, LAFC and the LA GaLAxy. So welcome, Gio.
Yeah, hey guys, pleasure to be on. Pleasure to be chatting with you guys and all the GaLAxy creators. Obviously, as you guys know, I do cover LAFC as well, but I try to stay as unbiased as the best way I can. Obviously, if you guys listen to the podcast, we have some of the top journalists as well, and sometimes we have to call it how it is. Like if GaLAxy's the best team in town, GaLAxy's the best team in town. So not we don't shy away from things like that. But I mean, I love being part of this Discord and what G-Man's doing here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And next, I'd like to introduce Rudy from Straight from the Stands. He's also president of ACB, and he's also participates in Liga Galaxia and Liga G.
Yo, what up, G-Man? Thanks for having us today. Thanks for inviting me and Straight from the Stands. Yeah, Rudy. I host Straight from the Stands. We go on Mondays 9 p.m. on YouTube, and then accessible through all digital platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and so on. Yeah, same thing. Straight from the Fans, similar to G30, where it's just it's 4 of us who hop on and argue about everything GaLAxy. Really, your typical bar talk with friends talking about the piece. But again, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, no problem. And our next person is from Total LA GaLAxy. This is Alex. He runs a Total LA GaLAxy Instagram.
And hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I co-run the Total LA GaLAxy Instagram page where we post a bunch of news and just discussions, having to have discussions with about topics relating to the GaLAxy and everything related about that too. I make YouTube content as well, where I'll talk about basketball or soccer around the world or just any other LA sports in general. So that's what I do.
Okay, thanks. And we're having a little technical difficulties with Chris. I don't know if it's his toaster PC or what. Oh, he's there. Chris is the Galaxy Guy podcast. He's a professional memester, inside scooper. And is there anything else you'd like the people to know about you?
I see some familiar faces in the chat room, people that I know from way back. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to G-Man for putting this together. I want to say thanks to all the other guys that are here as well. I like everything that you guys do. A lot of the inspiration for what I do comes from years of watching you guys work. As some of you already know, my hot takes began way back in the day on Reddit. That's the home base there. Several of the people that come on my show I've known for several years on that platform. So that's where we got started, and I guess we just transitioned into video with the podcast, if you want to call it that. Now it's pretty much just a video show. But here we are, man. It's for the love and the passion of the LA Galaxy, right? I'm sure that every other person in here can say the same thing. So let's do it.
No doubt. And I guess to start off the show, I wanted to make it a little fun icebreaker. I'll start you guys off with a lightning round where I'll ask you 4 questions and try to answer it as quick as you can. And the first one I would like to ask is, so the Galaxy Stadium has gone through a lot of changes. It was originally the Home Depot Center, then it became the StubHub Center. Now it's Dignity Health Sports Park. We had the Galaxy got a new Jumbotron a few years ago on the north side, I believe. And on the south side, they upgraded that Jumbotron too. They have a new supporter section, Victoria Block. They've had a new kind of bar on the east side, and they have a new tailgate area. I want to hear what your guys' take is, because now that California is slowly opening up, I believe on June 19th that they're going to allow full capacity. And I wanted to ask you guys, what is one thing you would like to see change about Dignity Health Sports Park? One change or one upgrade? And how about we start with you, Chris?
I'm just excited to get back to the stadium, as I'm sure every single Galaxy fan out there is, excited to finally be amongst full capacity crowds. I know it's a little scary there, but things are trending in the right direction. So what else is there to say, man? I look forward to seeing renovations to the stadium soon. There's been talks about it. There's been talks about adding some more statues outside to, accompany that David Beckham statue. So looking forward to that mostly. Would love to see some more of, our original players from way back in the day have some representation out there. Mauricio Cienfuegos being one of them. So really excited for that.
Okay. Nelson from G30, what upgrade or change would you like to see happen to the digs?
Mine is real simple, man. I just want to say I've been back. I've been fortunate to be back, and I feel like it's been really safe and really great. I'm looking forward to that trend continuing as we work towards full capacity. But the one thing I'm always missing, it's a simple one, man. Wi-Fi. Would love to have a Wi-Fi connection, just to make the social interactions work a little quicker there. That's where I'm someone who goes and tries to collect content.
That's a good suggestion. Micah, I don't know if you've been to the stadium, but and if you have or if you haven't, what's one thing that you like to see change to Dignity Health Sports Park?
Yeah, obviously it's tough living halfway across the country and you can't go to Dignity Health Sports Park. But one thing I would change is I think Chris Klein hinted at it earlier this year. It's that new statue. I definitely add the David Beckham statue or whatever they decide on. I'm happy, but we need another statue because we just need another one next to David Beckham.
Okay. Gio, what would you like to see change?
I think Dignity Hill Sports Park is amazing. There's obviously a lot of history there. I agree. The statues, I mean, it just makes it even, more of a signature place when you go there. But thing I'm gonna say, maybe having all the fan bases on the same side, or I don't know, maybe more in sync with each other. Maybe that's one thing I don't know if that's like changing something from the stadium necessarily, but I think from what I've seen, the Galaxy games are always amazing. But I think if the fan base is, maybe it's because of COVID right now. Obviously we're not full capacity, but I think if they were just a little bit more in sync, it would just make the experience even better.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Rudy, what's one thing that you'd like to see change to Dignity Health Sports Park?
Man, I'm with you on this, right? I've been lucky enough to travel to a bunch of the stadiums to see the Galaxy at away, and there's nothing much I could take away from any of the stadium that I would implement in our stadium. I think the one thing that I would like to get worked around, fixed, I don't even know the solution. There might be just high hopes, is the parking, because I hate coming out of right now. It's been dope because it's minimal capacity or 20% capacity, 30% capacity, so it hasn't been that bad. But when the 19th, we all know we're going to be in the parking lot for at least 30 minutes after the game, trying to get out. So I would like them to figure out the parking traffic a little better. But other than that, man, I love the stadium. I can't lie, I love that stadium.
I know what you mean. The parking's horrible. Hopefully I believe it's Measure M where they're extending the Metro Rail. Maybe that'll help people using public transportation. But anyways, last but not least, Alex, what's one thing you'd like to see change or have an upgrade to the stadium?
I think Rudy took my point. I was gonna say the parking, just because from my previous experiences, it's taken a while, just to get out of there after the games. But also, this might be a little weird, but I think the restrooms kind of do need a bit of an upgrade. Just because the last time I went to the match, it took me a while to get out there, and I feel like it might be kind of weird for some of you guys, but like I feel we can upgrade our restrooms a little bit. Aside from that, I love everything about the stadium. I love being there, and it's just an incredible atmosphere and just an enjoyable experience overall.
Okay, sounds good. So for those that just tuned in, this is kind of special compared to other live podcasts that are on YouTube. Not that we're saying we're better or anything. It's just that on Discord or normally on YouTube, live YouTube podcasts, the only way to interact with the podcast is through the chat. But you guys will get an opportunity to hop in the voice chat if you want, or you also can still, chop it up in the match chat as well. But yeah, this is just something special that we wanted to implement here on the GFAM Discord. And I guess let's get started with the topics. And Mike, he's here right now. He's from G30. Just want to bring him in.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Mike.
What up, Mike?
So the first topic that I want to discuss is Greg Vanney. He kind of inherited an incomplete team, and it required a lot of holes to be filled. But he does have championship experience with Toronto, winning it, I believe, in 2017. And throughout his tenure with Toronto, he's led that team deep in the playoffs. But given the resources that the Galaxy have, being in LA, that big market team, and having AEG as the owner, in Greg Vanney's first year, do you guys believe he's overperformed or underperformed based on the start of this season? So for those that believe he has overperformed, stay in the voice chat. For those that believe he's underperforming, you guys exit quietly.
Yeah.
So does that mean everyone thinks Greg Vanney has overperformed?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think the general
I would
consensus is
would
that
say
he's
so.
overperforming.
Okay, then if everyone agrees, then how about Chris? Why don't you start us off? why you believe that Greg Vanney has overperformed.
I think overperform is maybe not the exact word we can use. He's performing. We all knew Greg Vanney would fix this team, right? I mean, we talked about this in the first Podcord, where most people believe that this was a rebuild year, right? Some people thought it was a restructure, but as we see now, I mean, you look at that lineup, you have 8 players that are brand new to the team this season alone in that starting lineup. Of course, when you have Sega and Ryan Revelson in there, you'll have 8 total players that are new to this team. I think the expectation for most GaLaxy fans was that this team would be a playoff team minimum, right? But now, as the season's progressing and we're 7, 8 games in now, fans are very optimistic that this is a very deep playoff team at the very least. So he's performed better than we expected.
Okay, that's a good take. Nelson, would you like to give your thoughts about Greg Vanney overperforming?
Absolutely. I think. I mean, I've heard a bunch of people say this. I've heard some people say it on their other shows. Rudy has said it, I'm sure. But like, if you would have told us that this would be the case 7 games into the season, we'd be like, no, or at least I would have been in disbelief about having as many wins as we have. I think they've been a little ugly, grind out, but I still see it as an overperformance, maybe because my expectations were so tempered or so low. I was hopeful, and I feel like my hopes are being met right now, so I feel really good about it. I wouldn't say, I disagree with Chris a little bit. I don't think I'm expecting a deep playoff run yet. I have hope that we might get there, but I've gone from maybe we'll make the playoffs 50-50 to I think for sure we're going to make the first round.
Okay. Micah, would you like to give us your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think Greg Vanney has definitely overperformed. If you ask any MLS expert, just go on their website, you can see the whole article. I don't think that any of them predicted the Galaxy would be third in the Western Conference. Obviously, we're only having 7 games played right now, but there was just no expectation to start the season that Greg Vanney was going to be this quick to turn around this team and be this quick to bring in so many new players. And I think he's really, you've heard Chicharito and Bond and all the Galaxy players say this, that he's really changed the atmosphere of the locker room. So he's definitely exceeded expectations from most watchers.
All right, Gio, would you like to tell us why you think Greg Vanney has overperformed?
You know what? I'm gonna go against the grain. I want Guillermo Barros Schelotto back. No, I'm just playing.
Stop playing.
No, I mean Greg Vanney, man, what a guy. I mean, when I listen to his press conference calls, and in those videos that I see, I'm ready to like suit up for him. Go play for Greg Vanney. So I love what he's doing. I've loved the energy that he brings, and how he's been able to turn around this team so quickly, and just how he's brought these guys together as a family, right? So it's like seven games in, it's amazing to watch, and everything he's been able to do and adjust with the players, with the contracts, bringing in these French players that we've never heard of, right? We never heard of Kevin Cabral. At least I didn't. Let me put it that way. Samuel Grandsir, right? Ryan, and on, right? So it's exciting, because he's moving pieces right away, and it's not like, for him, this is this feeling. This is not like, okay, 2-3 year project. No, this is this year project that we're gonna make a run, and he's being very bold, but he's backing it up so far. He went out and got a great goalkeeper, Jonathan Bond. So, and they've talked about wanting to go win a championship, right? At first, it was very bold, and I was like, I don't know how I could see that, but now actually seeing them play and score goals, I think they still need a lot to do, but so far what I've seen, it's been amazing to watch the Galaxy this year.
Okay, I know what you mean. I kind of know the structure of the French Ligue 1 and Ligue 2, and I was very surprised that he brought in players from Ligue 2, because I don't know if Ligue 2 is is superior than the MLS. But Rudy, what's your take on Greg Vanney overperforming?
Yeah, like in my opinion, he's definitely overperforming, right? And I'll break down a couple reasons why I think that. Look at the way some of these players are performing, right? Especially the ones that majority of the fan base was over with, a la Efra, a la Steris, even Jonah, right? The commitment these players have come into the season with, and the big step, in my opinion, in quality of play when it comes to some of these players, has to be credited to Vanny, right? They're buying into what he's wanting from them, and they're coming out there and doing it. I think he's overperforming because he's getting so much from these young players, right? Just on Monday, I was talking about how psyched I was to see a combination play of Julian to Efra, Julian to I'm pretty sure it was Saldana, out to Dunbar, and then back up to Julian, I think it was. But whatever okay, it was just homegrown players or young players that are coming up from our system, and we're winning, right? And like so, you couple all that. Like I thought we were gonna be a better team, right? I thought we were gonna be a better team when we kicked off the season. I did not expect to be, where we at right now and performing the way we are right now and grinding out the way we are, right? For me, a big thing is that the commitment the players have, which we haven't seen for a while, and that has to go credited to Vanny. So yeah, he's definitely overperforming in my opinion.
Okay, that's a good point. Mike, would you like to give us your take?
Yeah, of course. I feel like I'm in the Greg Vanney apologist group as of right now. I was very cautiously optimistic, and I still am. But as a GaLAxy fan, I feel like you'd be lying or someone else would be lying to you if they weren't able to admit that Greg Vanney has been able to outperform with his given circumstances. He's made an immediate impact and he's instilled a winning mentality this far. But a side note that I'd like to mention is that I feel like we will see the real colors of Greg Vanney when shit starts to get rough. I feel like we haven't really seen that. Granted, we've suffered a loss to Seattle, and we suffered that stupid loss to Portland that I feel like we shouldn't have been in a position to lose that game. But I would like to see Vanney get tested a little bit more and wear thin. So I feel like it's just sort of the cautiously optimistic GaLAxy fan in me where I'm like, we've seen things turn 180 really quick and go completely opposite way. But I feel like the results we're getting and the way we're grinding out these wins, like Rudy had said, I feel like you can't really ask for more at this moment. We still have imports waiting to come in, and I feel like we are a little bit out from seeing a full polished Vanney team, which is scary to think because we're performing so well. So yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, wins matter. I guess I'm just concerned because just the way we're winning, we're not really outpossessing anyone. Our expected goals are significantly lower than our opponents. So maybe that's why, at least for me, I'm a little iffy if he's overperforming or not. But
Yeah.
last but not least, Alex, what's your take?
I would say he's definitely overperforming for the stage into the season, right? Because we're like 7 games in. I really wasn't expecting us to be number 3 in the Western Conference. I was expecting us to maybe be around 6 or 10 around that. So far for the beginning of the year, Greg Vanney has definitely been overperforming. We're seeing players like Chicharito actually find a groove. Some of our younger players, Araujo, Saldana, Dunbar, those are the ones that come to mind. We see them get a lot more minutes, which is something we didn't see under GBS, but now we're seeing them look like they're growing and they're playing, and we're seeing also too just the results as well. Obviously, there's still problems in the back line for the GaLAxy, and fortunately, we do have Jonathan Brick Wall Bond back there. So I will say for now he's overperforming, but there's still a lot of the season left. By the end of the year, we can judge whether or not he's overperforming or not.
Speaking about Jonathan Bond, I like to introduce another lightning question and answer this as fast as you can. With Javier currently being on top of the Golden Boot race, who's the more valuable player, Jonathan Bond or Javier Hernandez? Chris, why don't you give us your opinion?
Sure. We talked about this on the show this past week. Listen, goalkeepers have a very thankless job most of the time. their job goes unnoticed, right? Whereas a striker has all of the attention. When the goals are going in, the strikers are the stars, right? And they're always the front runners for that MVP conversation. But in all honesty, Jonathan Bond is quickly becoming, in my opinion, the MVP candidate for this LA Galaxy team. Because, listen, there are games where Chicharito will be disconnected and he'll have a quiet night. Jonathan Bond hasn't really had a quiet night since he signed with the LA Galaxy. And a quiet night for Jonathan Bond would be really bad for us. And we would be far lower in that table if Jonathan Bond had quiet nights, because goals would be going in for sure. So we are definitely as high as we are on that table because of Jonathan Bond. So I would definitely say that he's the front runner for MVP.
Okay, Nelson, would you like to tell us who do you think is an MVP?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bond too at this point. On our show, I had a prediction that Chicho would go off, and I'm happy to see that happen, even though he's cooling off a little bit. But I just want to kick it back to Zlatan really quickly, right? We had Zlatan single-handedly scoring hat tricks, but what did we do? We kept bleeding goals. So I think the fact that we're starting to put together clean sheets, and Cheech is getting his goals here and there, and we're seeing goals from other people. I think the goalkeeper is the difference there, right? It reminds me a lot of Bruce Arena 1-0 ugly wins. And you have to have a really good goalkeeper to get away with that. And I think for that reason, as of now, I have to give it to Bondi.
Micah?
Yeah, I really don't like to compare players, especially when they play different positions. But when determining an MVP so far in the season, Chicharito, I think his goals are, they've been easy goals. They haven't been world class Zlatan goals and Bela goals over there at LAFC. But that's besides the point. Jonathan Bond, I think and there's been so many situations where he's just been put in in extreme scenarios where he's forced to make up plays on his own and save these shots. And if you have to give me an MVP choice for the LA Galaxy this season, it's definitely Jonathan Bond.
Okay, Gio?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm agree with you guys. That was my point as well. What G30 said about obviously this team had Zlatan, scored over 50 goals, right? In what the season, the two seasons I was here with the Galaxy. But perfect game, the Cali Classical, they would not have won that game if it wasn't for Jonathan Bond. And you need to have someone that is going to be there, that's confident, and and he's been lit up by goals, and I don't think none of those goals that he's been scored on so far are necessarily his fault. But yeah, I mean, it's a good conversation to have. These conversations we're having because last year, I mean, this is what I mean by the Galaxy. Last year, we wouldn't even consider talking about an MVP on the team, right? And now we're talking about early MVPs on the team with Jonathan Bond and Chicharito. But yeah, I like Jonathan Bond. I love what he's doing. So I'll just give him the slight edge because I also feel Chicharito's important. But the work and the passion, the way he plays, and the game he had last week, and it was amazing.
Okay, Rudy?
Yeah, I'm not. I can't give it to either one, right? Or give it to both of them at that point. Actually, Bond, big time. Everything you guys said about Bond, 100%, right? I'm big on keepers, and if you guys heard straight from the stands, you guys know that. I'm big on keepers, and I think he's super central to us, being where we're at right now, and the team performing higher than we expected. But also though, the energy, the commitment, the passion, everything Chicharito's bringing, it goes hand in hand with what Bond is doing for me, right? There's no way, that number 18, 19, 20th player is not giving it all when your main player, your DP player, is just busting his butt every single game for as long as he's in the field, right? That energy is contagious throughout the squad. Therefore, I can't say one or the other. They're both essential for a team in the way we're performing right now, in my opinion.
No, that's fair. I agree that it's hard to give the MVP to just one player because so many players have been important to the Galaxy's results these seven games. So I can understand your point. Mike, what's your take, Bond or
I'm gonna
Javier?
I'm gonna have to agree with the rest of the guys here that side with Bond. I mean, we watch these games week in and week out, boys. We know that, like I had mentioned earlier, I feel like we are not a finished product. Where this is a work in progress, and it's a pretty damn good work in progress. But we don't win a majority of these games without Jonathan Bond. And that's just the truth. I'm in a boat where I see our team as the goals will inevitably come, and someone's gonna get that job done up front. We have an abundance of great attacking options at the moment with Kevin Cabral, and like we have our star guy Cheech. But I feel you look at these games, and I sort of like to process it in a way where there's this interesting stat. It's called wins above replacement, and essentially wins above replacement. I'm not too sure if you guys are familiar. It's how many games would your team had won if you were replaced or if you were out of the lineup. And I feel Bond has a lot of stock there. If you take Bond out of our lineup, we don't win a lot of these games that we go into. So yeah, that's where I sort of stand on the spectrum.
Okay, Alex, what's your take?
Yeah, I'd agree with everybody else here because Bond has been extremely valuable. And I talked about this before on Gio's show like a couple weeks ago about how most of the goals that Jonathan Bond has conceded, you need to look at the context of it. The defense hasn't been, it's been better than last year, but still has their problems, their positioning, communication problems. And most of the goals that Jonathan Bond concedes aren't because of errors by him, but more the defense just kind of puts them in these positions on one-on-one or penalties that are really hard for keepers. I would say that I'm in the boat where, yeah, Chicharito has been valuable and has definitely played a big part in this team getting off to a hot start. But as the season's progressing now and we're getting more and more players into the squad and more players really getting comfortable, right? Like Samuel Granzier, we've seen him slowly accommodate to MLS and accommodate with the other players on the team. And every game he looks to be improving and be a lot more dangerous. Same thing with Kevin Cabral getting his second start, his first start actually, second start. Brain fart right there. Second start last week. He's gonna get going too. At the end of the day or by the end of the season, I really think that Chicharito won't be scoring all the goals, but it'll kind of be more of everybody getting their piece of the pie when it comes to scoring. While yes, you can take Bond out of the lineup and you'll definitely see a dramatic change and just you'll miss the impact that he has on the goalkeeping end. But I feel that our attack is going to be really improve as the season goes on, and you can't really say that if you were to replace Bond or just take him out of the lineup. So Bond, unfortunately, if this is a fair world, he would be probably the front runner for MVP. But the strikers and the hackers get all of the attention in that award.
Okay, before we move on to our next topic, is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up to the stage and give their takes on who's their MVP, Javier Hernandez or Jonathan Bond? If not, we'll just move on. Okay. So the second topic that I want to introduce is Coach Vanny has been notorious for changing the lineups based on who's available, based on who he's playing. When he was with Toronto, you would see a 4-2-3-1, a 4-1-4-1, a 4-3-3, etc. And this season, Coach Vanley has mainly stuck to a 4-2-3-1. I believe in one game towards the second half, he tested a 3-4-3. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you like, with the current roster and keeping in mind of the players coming in, the confirmed players that are coming in, which is Sega Koulibaly and Rayon Ravelson, do you like the 4-2-3-1, or would you like to see a different formation? So those that like the 4-2-3-1 stay on the stage, and those that would like to see a different formation leave, and you get to give us your take after. Okay, so apparently Chris, Micah, Gio, and Mike like the 4-2-3-1. So Chris, would you like to give us your take on why you prefer the 4-2-3-1?
Sure. I think that this is the lineup that we're going to see permanently going forward, just because of the players that we have. We spoke about this with John Rojas on my show about 2 weeks ago. John Rojas is just about one of the best soccer analysts out there. The guy just understands the game differently, and even he agreed that this is pretty much what we're going to see, because you're going to have that midfield with, for the first time in a very long time, a true center defensive midfielder. That's going to be Ryan Revelson, which means you're going to have that double pivot in the mid, right? Which is either going to be Jonathan Dos Santos and Sebastian Lletget, or Jonathan Dos Santos and Victor Vasquez, right? And naturally, you're going to have your two wingers, because you're not going to play Samuel in any other position. You're not going to really play Cabral in any other position, which means you're going to go by default to that single striker formation with Chicharito up top. And I think that's going to work. And it's going to work because you're going to have two very young, dynamic, attacking players on the wings opposite to each other, providing that speed, providing that second and third dimension to the attack, providing that outlet for Chicharito. So once those guys get in the groove and they start to understand each other and they start to play well with each other and that chemistry comes, that's the formation that's going to work best for us.
Okay, thanks for your take. Micah, would you like to give us your thoughts on why you prefer the 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, so the 4-2-3-1, I think that's the lineup that Vanny really wants to go to when he was building this team. I think he built it around that formation. But he's also using these other formations as sort of like experiments. That's what I kind of call it, for other situations. So like, hey, we're down 2-0 at halftime. We need to change this 4-4-2 formation. We're going to start out into that 4-2-3-1 because that's our base formation. I think that's how he really wants to play. But in that formation, I think the 4-2-3-1 really benefits guys like Chicharito, because he's able to drop in that midfield versus the 3-4-3 that crowds the midfield a lot. And I don't think Chicharito is that effective whenever he's with Cabral up there, and they're kind of in their same area. But to kind of just close it out, I think that the 4-2-3-1 hasn't really failed that often right now. So I don't think we should stop it right now.
Okay, Gio, would you like to give us your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think what these guys are saying, the 4-2-3-1 it seems to be one of the foundations of Greg Vanny. But at the same time, the thing that I really like about Greg Vanny, he's willing to adjust. If the 4-2-3-1 is not working, the man is going to adjust at halftime. And that's what I love about him. So, I know it's big on formations, but like he's willing to scrap the plan if the 4-2-3-1 is not working. And I think we even saw him in the first game of the year against Inter Miami. We saw 4-4-2. I think that we saw that. Yeah, he had even Ethan Zubak up there. So I love that. So I don't think necessarily any formation is going to be the Achilles of the team. It's just he really has a good understanding on how to get the best of the players, and I think it's going to be in that 4-2-3-1 formation. And if that's not cutting it, then Greg Vanny's going to change it at halftime, 4-4-2, 3-4-3, you name it, and he has such a great knowledge of the game. So I don't think it's going to affect the GaLaxy either way.
Well, you bring up a good point. Any soccer analysts, they don't even believe in formations because when they begin to play, they're all over the place. They're in their assigned zones and all. But
yeah, and that's why I feel the formation. I mean, if we're talking like LAFC, I don't want to even break it up. It's like 4-4-3, like it's so predictable. And Greg Vanny, you really can't predict because he can switch it, and that's what I like about him.
Right. Mike, would you like to tell us why you like the 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, I'm a very big believer of if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. I mean, you see the way we're playing, and we're playing fantastic. We're in a great spot. And I'm all for Vanny making adjustments at halftime, and I'm all for making tactical adjustments when they need to be made. But the reason I say stick by the 4-2-3-1 with the two pivot midfielders is because we look at scenarios where we've gone into games, and I'm going to use the Seattle game again for evidence, where we go in with a different formation and different lineup, and we get absolutely outclassed because we completely scrapped our former assignment, and we're like, let's try and play up to these guys who have been an established system for the better past of like the half decade. And I feel the 4-2-3-1 gives us the perfect balance of attack and offense that we need. Granted, we don't have too many pivot midfielders, and that's why we have Sega coming in, not to play that role, but we have Ryan and we have JDS who realistically be our two pivot midfielders, and like Chris had said, you get Leggett in there. I feel like these guys just know how to play that pivot role. It allows for our attacking to be a lot more fluid, and it lets guys to sort of express and cut in on the wings with, Samuel Grandisser and Cabral. You have all these different dynamics, and I feel it allows everyone to play their game. And like I had said, once we stray away from what we know, we get punched in the mouth, and then people get pissed. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like the 4-2-3-1, and that's my take.
Okay, so thanks for all your takes. Could you please leave the stage? And I believe Rudy and Alex are the only two that would like to see. Oh, and Nelson, that would like to see something other than a 4-2-3-1. So let's hear what you guys have to say. While you guys slowly come up, I accepted your request. But how about we start off with Nelson?
My brother has me second guessing my answer now. I just, when it's funny, I went to the audience for a similar, like an opposite similar reason, I guess, as Gio, right? I was thinking like once they start playing, the formation kind of goes out the window, and as we've seen, Greg, we'll have somebody like Kevin or Ethan tuck in and play more of like a half, like a forward that's not quite on the wing, not quite a striking partner for Chicha, right? But I think coming out in the 4-2-3-1, like that's just not Chicha's game. I worry about the temptation to start playing Zlatan ball if we get down, right? Like whipping in crosses we saw last year doesn't work. It was as if we were still playing with Zlatan. I just don't think having Chicha up there suits his play style, and it opens him up to getting beat up. And that's fine if you're trying to push the ball through Cabral or through Grandsir or whoever, right? And that's the focus and that's the plan. But if the plan is to play the ball through Chicha, I think he needs more distractions up there. And I think the lone striker thing doesn't really work for him that way. I think it remains to be seen what our identity is, and we're still figuring that out. And we've been punched in the mouth trying to figure that out, like Mike said. But if we're coming out in a 4-2-3-1 and that's flat and that's to play the ball through Chicha that way, I just don't think that suits his play style. But I do want to salute Greg's tactical changes, and that obviously that's changed a lot of the games.
Okay. Rudy, would you like to give us your take?
Yeah, similar to that, right? I'm not saying no against that formation, nor do I have a formation I would necessarily like. But I'm with Nelson and a lot of what everybody else is saying, that this team seems really fluid, right? Where I'll give you an example of Vasquez, right? Like he plays in the middle, but a lot of his effectiveness comes from him going out wide and connecting, right? Efra legit, they like to do that as well. So it's I don't necessarily think that we'll have the double pivot, because you like Greg Vanny, at least from what we've seen, it seems like he likes his midfielders, creative midfielders, to have that freedom, right? To move around from whatever, and you leave that one solid guy to kind of man the defensive efforts, at least initially, before everybody else kind of tracks back. You see this a lot with what Jonah's been doing in the last few games, right? Like it's him chasing down anybody who gets past that initial press. So again, I can offer what I think the formation would be. I just don't think it's as clean cut as this is what they play, right? It's really very fluid when they get on the field.
Okay. Alex, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I've just been thinking recently, in the game against San Jose, you had those two center backs really cut Chicharito off the game, and I just really wish there were just two forwards up front, maybe it could be Cabral or Zubac, and just also too, some of you might know, but like I do like a FIFA career mode series on YouTube, and during the preseason, during that, I was thinking I don't want to stick to this formation. I want to change it up a bit, and a lot of things happened in that career mode series, so I decided to change it up. And I've just been really, really intrigued just overall of just the return of the three center backs in world football. The team who won the European Championship, they play with three center backs. And I really think that could really be helpful. Having three center backs in, Julian Araujo and Villafania just coming in and out. We can become a back five if we need to. And just also too, just having those four midfielders out there. We could put Granzier on one side to be a striker. We could probably put in Jonathan Dos Santos and Revlinson in there, and just having Cabral and Chicharito up front because it doesn't have to be a back three, but I just really want Chicharito to have somebody up there, somebody he can combine with, and just open up the play a lot more because I know just him alone up there with those center backs is going to be a lot harder, especially since he's of a smaller stature and isn't the most physical striker out there.
Okay. Thank you all for your takes. We might only have time for one more topic, but if you can all leave the stage, I'll introduce the next topic. So I just want to let you guys know about my bias. I was a huge fan of Pavon, and the GaLaxy didn't bring him back. They didn't renew Joe Corona's contract. I was also a huge fan of him. I followed his career, and I admired how he turned it around. The GaLaxy replaced Insua for Villafania, which I think is the smarter choice because it gives the team flexibility because Insua is very expensive, and Villafania has been very effective. And what I've noticed these past few years is the MLS, the current meta is going to South America and getting younger players. You see that with LAFC with Brian Rodriguez. You see that with Atlanta getting Joseph Martinez, who's an MVP caliber player, and with the GaLaxy getting Pavon last year, but some legal troubles. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep him. But Coach Vanny has been kind of going the opposite way. Instead of going through South America, he's gone to France, to French Ligue 1 and Ligue 2, mostly Ligue 2. The only Ligue 1 player is Granzier, and the other two are Kevin Cabral from Valenciennes and Ryan. Are you guys satisfied with the signings that Greg Vanny has made? Would you have preferred him to continue with that South American meta that most teams are going at? Or do you like that he went the French route? So for those that are satisfied with Greg's signings, raise your hand and you guys can speak first.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just wait.
Gio, you can start first.
No, I mean, I love it. I love because I felt like, obviously, covering the other team across town, I feel like some of the South American players are overvalued. And I think it's starting to get too saturated, right? It's not only the MLS that's going over there, it's obviously European clubs are going over there as well. And I like that he's going the different approach. And I like that he's going to France. I mean, we know France is very talented. We see the players at the type of caliber that they have at the World Cup, and it's also France, right? They have that the soccer culture, football culture, which they'll call it out there. But I mean, it is a very talented players. But the biggest thing that I like about Greg Vanny is that he's also going young. He's not just going to Europe, and he's not going through the traditional LA Galaxy type of model. Get a big superstar. He's talked about it, about building for the future, and that's what we're seeing with Kevin Cabral. When I found out it's 5 years for what, $5 point something million, I was shocked because I was like, I've never seen this from the LA Galaxy. This is something typically, LAFC would do or a different type of team. So I like that he's having his imprint on this team, from the start of the season and the pieces that he's moving in, and I like that he's not going to a saturated market. And I think Greg Vanny is the one of the first people to do it in the MLS. I'm not too much. I don't cover too much of the other teams or pay attention too much of whether recruiting, but I like that he's going to France and going to get that pipeline because I mean, Kevin Cabral in 2 games. Obviously, it's hard to judge him, but we see his one-on-one skills, and I love that. So you can only imagine, right, a full season if he stays under his belt. Same thing with Grant Sir. So, I mean, he's hitting it spot on, and no one else in the MLS is doing it. And I think he's getting these players rather cheap. Like he's pretty much stealing these players for the value, and he knows that. And I think he's way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I believe Grancier, he had a $3 million contract, and they didn't want to terminate the contract, and the Galaxy didn't even have to pay a transfer fee. I believe maybe just the Galaxy are, they're just transferring that contract onto the Galaxy's tab. Nelson, can you give us your take on why you are satisfied with these signings?
Yeah, I think there are clubs that sign to fit an identity, like Chivas used to, or other clubs like that around the world. LAFC had been doing it right for a minute, or starting to do it, and we were coming on that train, obviously, with GBS and DTK. I don't think the pipeline to South America is closed yet, or to Mexico is closed yet because of DTK's connections. He also has another foot in Europe, and Greg, as we've seen, has his feet in Europe. And it's fine. I don't really care where the players come from, as long as they fit the need and they fit the need well. So ultimately, I'm satisfied with the signings because Greg is filling the holes we've had for years, and it seems to be working. And if they all pan out, or even most of them pan out, then I'll continue to be satisfied. And I also think the new blood, it doesn't matter where they're coming from, because Greg is so good at implementing a culture, as we're seeing, that it doesn't seem to be a factor on this team, like where you come from. Rather, you're coming to the Galaxy to be part of this unique culture, right? So I think as long as they fit the need, and as long as they're motivated and willing to buy into that, I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Nelson. Micah, give us your take on why you're satisfied with these signings.
Yeah, I think that Galaxy fans are so used to the rumors popping up and Guillermo really going down to South America to scout these players. Not really scout, but sign some players. But right now, that's what all MLS is doing. All MLS teams are going to South America. I think I saw a rumor from Portland today. They're going to South America. We've seen other teams do that. And I think it's a smart thing that Manny's doing, is he's realizing that it's too expensive and it's very risky to sign these South American players. So he's moving to a new market, and he's signing phenomenal players in Cabral, Grancier, and all those French connection. But I think it's really smart. And of course, he hasn't shut down any of those options. I think Dennis DeClosa, he was on Corner of the Galaxy saying, hey, of course, we're looking everywhere. We're looking for the best valuable players. But certainly, I think they're targeting France because of the cheap, in terms of salary cap and how good the players, really have been.
Okay. Rudy, would you like to give us your take?
Yeah, I'm satisfied, right? I think the FO, whether it's Vanny and DTK or just Vanny, whoever it was really smart to look at. Well, first of all, I've got to give credit to them knowing exactly who they wanted to get, right? I think we've been stuck in a situation where we get who's available and then try to figure it out. It seems like this time around, this is who we need to make, Greg Vanny's plan work. So that alone, I'm satisfied. The players coming in have I like them, right? I know there's some doubtfulness going on with the Grand Zero, but I think that's just a matter of time. I think there's a lot there, and then Cabral for me. That have been just the two games I've seen, especially last game. I'm pretty much bought into him being a DP or young DP, whatever mechanism is the one we're using for him. I'm bought in with that, right? I also this hints a lot to like the Brazilian invasion we got with when Junie came over, and that worked out well for us. So overall, I think it's not only necessarily just the signings, but like what the thought behind these signings, right? Like going after league, knowing that COVID affected a bunch of clubs in Europe. Big smart move, right? And especially like, again, Cabral, like him being a player that was looked at for like not only League On, but like I know there was rumors of him going to Spain and other countries looking at him as well. So the fact that we pulled it off, and the fact that these kids are young, the fact that we signed him for long contracts, meaning that they're hopeful they might be able to sell him off again, or at least make sure that we keep him in that asset. Like yeah, I think it's good business when it comes to that, and also paying dividends in the field.
No, I like that you brought up Junie, because Junie came when I believe he was 18 or 19, same as Cabral, and he pretty much grew up in the US, grew up with the GaLAxy, and we saw him, come in as a teenager and retired as a grown, old, broken down man, unfortunately. I mean, hopefully Cabral doesn't be an old, broken down man, but I like that comparison. And yeah, lastly, Alex, give us your take.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying just all the signings we're getting, I think Gio said it best when South America has kind of been a little bit oversaturated lately. All the top clubs in the world know there's talent in countries like Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, right? And then now MLS is also going to be targeting that too. And yeah, it makes sense. There's been success. Atlanta United had Almiron, and look where he is now. Just other teams around the league have been really looking at South America, and now Greg Vanny and Dennis DeClosa have taken a different route, looking into Europe, most notably France right now, right, which is where we're signing most of these players. And I really like this approach because in Europe, I would say there's always a mentality to replace really quickly, right? They're not too patient when it comes to results. And I like that we're going into just France, a country that has rich football culture in it. I really want him to go to Portugal, because I think Portugal are one of the teams with the most brightest futures, and I think they might repeat in the Euros this year. So I really hope that we continue to maybe just look around in Europe for players who are younger, players whose clubs won't give them that chance, because I think if they come to the US and just come to the GaLAxy, I really think we can help their careers get back into Europe, and also to help us be successful domestically here in the United States.
Okay. Great points, everyone. If I could have you all leave the stage. So, Chris and who else? And the others that don't think, that are not satisfied with these signings could speak. Oh, Chris, could you raise your hand to let us know why? Okay, so let's start off with Chris. Why do you think, why are you not satisfied with these signings?
I wouldn't say that I'm dissatisfied with the signings so far, especially the young guys. I think the verdict is still out on Grandsir. We've seen brilliant moments from Cabral, but it's 2 games. It's a big contract to place on a young guy that is unproven. We broke down his stats on the show earlier when he was signed. He hasn't really put in monster performances at his previous clubs, So the GaLAxy signed him basically on the outlook that they have for his future, which is very bright, right? But I think the difference between signing players from Europe and signing players from South America is it's a cultural thing. I feel that South American players are hungrier to prove themselves, to make that jump to Europe, because that's the end goal for just about any soccer player on planet Earth, right? They want to make that jump to Europe. So when you bring a player that was already at Europe and they're young, they might see it as a step down. I don't know. It's just they feel like they don't really have much to prove, perhaps. It's a difference of culture and mentality. So that's why you see a lot of MLS teams have kind of changed their motto over the years. It used to be that you signed the old aging European players to make an impact on your team, right? You had the Didier Drogbas, you had the Frank Lampards, the Pirlos, you had Toronto signing the old broken down players like Defoe, right? And that's changed now since we've seen that it's more successful. Teams are more successful when you sign those hungry up and coming South American guys. There's a reason why countries like Uruguay are the #1 exporters of young talent to Europe. You know, despite Uruguay being one of the smallest countries in South America, they are, I still believe, the #1 country of export of players to Europe. For that reason, because those players are hungrier. You're not going to tell me there's no young, talented players in Europe, right, that they can pick from, but they'd rather go and scout in South America. It's a cultural thing. So the verdict is still out on whether or not the kids from France will pan out. It's looking like it will. It's looking bright. It's looking promising. But I don't think we should have given up on South America just yet. I think that it's been proven in MLS in the last 5 or 6 years that South America is the way to go. You look at the teams that have won MLS Cup recently, the teams that have been the most successful, and that's the model they have followed: is young talent from South America. There is so much talent down there that's just waiting to be discovered. There's just so many guys out there that are waiting for that opportunity. They're hungry, quite literally sometimes very hungry, right, because of the poverty and the conditions in South America. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. I'm not dissatisfied with the signings. That's my take. I think that we still have a lot to see. So we'll go with that for now.
No, I actually agree with your point. I kind of believe that, you know, some of the greatest soccer players, they did come from slums, and it's not that there aren't any slums in, you know, Europe. I'm not familiar with all the countries in Europe, but you know, Marseille and the outskirts of Paris, they have developed, you know, very talented players like Thierry Henry. But I completely agree. It's a little questionable that, like you said, everyone's end goal is to go to Europe for now. And the fact that these kids are from Europe and they're coming to the MLS, it's definitely it's not as reassuring as the hungry South American that he wants to make a name for himself, and the end goal is to go to Europe. So even though mostly everyone's satisfied, I'm definitely still iffy about it as well. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to give us their take, feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring you up here. If not, we'll bring everyone up to give you guys a chance to say your last remarks as we finish up this Podcord. Oh, guys, raise your hand so that if you want to say anything to refute Chris's statement, then you can, and then we'll wrap up the show. Alex, Nelson, Micah, raise your hand so that I could bring you up to the main stage. Yeah. Okay. I accepted your request, Nelson. But yeah, if you guys have any last words to say to Chris, let me know. If not, then we could wrap up the show as well. I'll start with Nelson.
What are we looking for?
Oh, well, Chris mentioned, you know, the jury's still out. He believes, you know, it's a little questionable that you have players from Europe coming to the U.S. because most soccer players' end goal is to go to Europe,
Right.
and that's what you have with the South American talent. If there's anything you'd like to add, if not, you can just pass, and then I'll move on to Micah.
I'll pass. I mean, I do want to reiterate. I don't think that we're done with South America yet necessarily. I think Greg is just going where he knows, and I think DTK is still going to keep mining other parts of the world. But other than that, that's my thought.
Okay, Micah, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris a lot of his statement there. Obviously, the players, they want to go to Europe, they want to play in the Premier League, they want to play in La Liga, all those big leagues. But I think the players that we're choosing from France, they're not starting at their clubs. Grandsir wasn't at Monaco, and Cabral, I mean, he was in the league in the second league, but we're really trying to improve their careers to get them to bigger, better places, to kind of like rejuvenate their career, to move them up in some sort of way. But of course, we're not done with South America. So yeah.
Okay, before we move on to Geo, Hefe 187 wants to join, so I'm gonna let him. Oh, hey Hefe, was there anything you'd like to add to this topic? Hefe, you're muted. Did you click the?
Oh, one thing. So I just like literally just got back from the gym, so I just literally just got started. But we're talking about like why European players are coming here, and then if their end goal is to stay here in MLS or go back to Europe, right?
Or the topic was, are you satisfied with the signings, Greg Van? Mostly everyone is satisfied. Chris is he's not dissatisfied per se, but he did raise the issue of most soccer players' end goal is to go to Europe, and it's a little unusual that we're signing players from Europe to come here, and that's something about the South American players that I forgot whether he likes it or not, but I like that they're coming to the MLS trying to make a name for themselves to go to Europe. So in a sense, maybe they might be more motivated than the ones that already made it to Europe and are coming back. If you had anything to say about that.
Right. So I'm kind of satisfied with Vanny's signing so far. But one thing like I'm probably gonna get like killed for around this group is probably like I kind of want Christian Pavon back. I mean, if you look back at his recent Boca games with the Copa Libertadores and the Argentinian First Division, he's killing it. He's already back in the starting lineup, and he's providing all the assists and the goals that's necessary. And I think we shouldn't overlook the South American talent because obviously the situation in South America is probably not as good as compared to here in the United States. So I feel like a lot of young players over there that have that raw talent should probably be signed for the MLS in general. And we've seen some examples of that recently as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be attacked. I expressed that I miss Pavon as well. I feel like at least a few of us here also miss Pavon. But yeah, Gio, was there anything you'd like to refute about Chris's claim?
No, guys, look, it's been awesome. It's been great, chopping it up with you guys and getting everybody's take. And I know I follow some of these accounts. I've now seen a lot of people's Twitter accounts. So, yeah, it's been a pleasure, chopping it up with you guys and talking with you guys. I probably will bounce after this because I've been doing back-to-back shows. But yeah, man, I always look forward to doing this, and G-Man and everybody that's here. This is amazing. I do also think if we do it on Twitter Spaces, it would be pretty cool as well.
Oh no, definitely. Thanks for coming, Gio. Feel free to leave when you can. We do appreciate it because I know that you did back to back shows this week, so it's definitely tiring. But Alex, is there anything you'd like to say about Chris's statement, or would you like to pass?
I understand the perspective that Chris is coming from. Obviously, a lot of the South American players, usually come with a chip on their shoulder, trying to improve their circumstances from their home countries, right? And obviously have that hunger to succeed and that hunger to just make it to the top level. But I would say that I think the situation with the Vanny signings is that most of these players that he brought in, these French players, it's not like these players were definitely starting 11 material for their clubs or were playing in lower leagues. I feel like they do still have that same hunger to prove it. Obviously the jury's going to still be out on these signings. Obviously, just 7 games in, and a couple more of the players we got aren't even with the squad yet. But I feel like this will be a good compare and contrast once it's all said and done with the season on how players who have been in Europe coming here to MLS, who are trying to get their career started or trying to make a name for themselves and get themselves out there again back into Europe. I think that'll be interesting to watch compared to the players like your Miguel Almirones, your Brian Rodriguez's, who are coming into MLS and then trying to dominate here to make it to Europe. So I think that this is a really good conversation to have. And who knows, if this does go well and these players do succeed, I think we'll see a trend of players of MLS clubs bringing in more players who are also trying to prove themselves in Europe back into MLS. So then maybe even they can get even more attention from other European clubs as well.
Okay, Chris, do you have any last words before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, MLS has proven to be a showcase for players, for young players, right? Because of the attention that it gets internationally now. And South America is very aware of that. That's why you see a lot of these agents trying to offload their players and offer them to MLS teams. And that's why you've seen more MLS teams look towards South America for that same reason, because they're very aware that this is like a launching pad for a lot of players into Europe. So I don't know if that works the other way around. If there's that same attention from European agents looking into MLS the same way with younger players, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I think the formula's there. I think a lot of MLS teams have caught on to that's the winning formula for now. What Greg Vanney and Dennis Ticlos are trying is they're basically trying to change that formula a little bit, right? The formula back in the day used to be the old aging European players coming to MLS. Then the formula changed to young South American players, and that was the key to success. And Dennis Ticlos and Greg Vanney are trying to do the European route again, but they're trying to do the young European route. So verdict is still out. We'll see if that works, right? That's all I'm saying is the verdict is still out.
Okay. And to wrap up the show, I just want to pose the question, because we're 7 games in, roughly 20% of the season has finished. And Greg Vanney kind of hinted about his plan. If you look at kind of the behind the scenes videos that were released by the GaLAxy, Greg Vanney, he wants to create that MLS standard. He doesn't know what it is, but he wants to reach that. Reporters have asked, is this a rebuild? Is this a playoff team? Is this a championship winning team? At least for me, I could be wrong, but I get the impression that Greg Vanney is definitely trying to go for the championship this year. And Jonathan said he wants to win a championship this year. Do you guys, based off these 7 games, do you guys believe that the GaLAxy can contend for an MLS Cup this season? And Nelson, why don't we start off with you?
Oh, you're killing me, G. I'm the eternal optimist over at G30, right? I think I always kind of digest everything and accept things a lot quicker than my co-hosts. I'm very hesitant to say that this is an MLS Cup winning team, but in my heart, that little spark is there. And I think there's some real shades of like 2009, 2010, where the GaLAxy almost did it and fell just short. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened here. Like I said, I'm full in. Like, we're definitely making the playoffs now. I'm not quite convinced that we're a cup team yet, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a little spark of hope there.
Hey, making the cup isn't so bad as well. Like, it's not easy to make the MLS Cup.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Micah, what's your take on if you think the Galaxy could contend for an MLS Cup this season?
Yeah, I'm trying to not be too optimistic, but since I know we're only 7 games in, but I think this team it definitely has potential to become a championship contending team. Uh, Especially with the additions we're getting, especially with chemistry coming together. I don't think we've seen the best of any of the players in the field right now. So it'll be fun to watch over the summer. Championship contender, that does sound good, but it's not going to be easy throughout the summer.
Okay, and last but not least, Alex, what's your take on it?
Uh, I like the question we talked about earlier. This team has really overachieved. And I'm just really so excited to cover the team this summer. Because right now the team's clicking on all cylinders pretty much to start off the season. They've looked really well. Obviously, there've been some challenges here and there. But that's gonna happen. I'm just excited to see how this team evolves as the season goes on. But more importantly, I'm really intrigued when it comes to how Granzier and Cabrals are gonna play. Are we gonna see Efrain Alvarez, play a bit more? Adam Saldana, Carlos Harvey, those players trying to compete for a spot in the midfield, especially with Jonathan Dos Santos, who's on a contract year. I really think there's a lot of storylines going on between this team, and I really think that even just making it as far as to maybe like the conference finals, that'll be success in my book, because we are beginning to raise the standard of where the Galaxy should be. And importantly, we are the biggest club in MLS, and we need to be at that standard of where we're constantly, being talked about as contenders, being talked about as, people as a team who is definitely dangerous, like how Seattle has been in the last couple of years and their dominance that they've had. I believe that Vanny's like putting in a good foundation for us to become as successful or even more successful as a team like Seattle under Brian Schmetzler.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to give their take? I know that Brian and Eddie from the NAG News Across the Galaxy podcast are here. Would you guys like to hop on and give your take, or Hefe, would you like to come back on? If not, we're gonna wrap up the show. Okay, I guess no one else wants to go on this stage, but I just would like to thank you all for stopping by, listening to all these great podcasters' takes. It makes this Podcord so unique that we get all these different perspectives on the team that we support. And I can't thank you all enough for agreeing to come on and, chop it up with us, because I'm sure you've seen it. I'm a huge fan and I support all your guys' work. I love listening to it. I love following your guys' IG and everything. And I just want to say thanks. And especially everyone from the G fam of Discord, the PC and Bloppy, who are the other mods that are on here that help build this Discord. I think I speak for them as well. We appreciate what you guys do. And yeah, thanks for coming.
Hey G, I'd love to speak up and thank you for all of the work you guys are doing on the Discord. I think it's a really different space compared to all of the other spaces that are out there. Everything's different. There's something for everybody, as I've been told before, and I'm continuing to realize. It's really great that y'all have added another platform, and y'all have been really big supporters of our pod and our show, and I appreciate you and I thank you, and I love doing this, and I hope to do this a bunch of times in the future and chop it up with all the other creators too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, gee, thanks for doing this. We always love to talk with other Galaxy creators.
Yeah,
But I
G,
think it's just great what everyone's doing across their platform. Alex doing a great job at Total Galaxy, G30 podcast doing their best. And we got all the other podcasters and Twitter accounts. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, Micah, because for those that don't know, he's in Atlanta, so it's 11:30 over there. So I don't know. I mean, you see me in the DMs. I always appreciate like everything you do, and thanks for being so accommodating because we're on the West Coast.
No problem.
But yeah, G, just thank you for the space. You know, the Discord's been just really fun to interact with, and just I'm grateful that you giving us an area for us to like promote our stuff, and it's great that we can just sit here and chat about really anything. It doesn't have to be Galaxy related. We can just talk about whatever. And just thanks to all the moderators too for just making this really really successful. And I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening to this appreciates just all the work you guys are doing, and just even having the space to talk Galaxy. People enjoy the stuff. So yeah, G and all the moderators, keep it up, and we really appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, no problem. And I guess with that, I guess the show is over. And thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for participating.
Thank